Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
And we get the back view of him. And I mean, it's just a mega.
52 yards is a long shot. Magnum PI, what we named him. No idea.
Just a magnum.
Yeah, just a magnum.
Come on cam last year, we said probably 150, mid 150.
Yeah.
Same doe from the morning come out with that 9-pointer.
Here steps out this 90-inch 8-pointer. You're like,
I'm like, okay, well, there's still a buck back there grunting.
Yeah.
And then out steps like another 90-inch 8-pointer. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm like, deer, right there.
Yeah, like
and he's already
yards.
30 yards.
Yeah.
He was literally 5 yards from the base of the tree. Could have been, had a buck down at 1:40 in the afternoon, back there deep on public. 3 does come out pretty early. It was like 245, 24-yard shot, sent the combat veteran, and I tell you what, man, dude, it just smoked. We always get so jacked up when the other person kills. It's just almost like we got it done.
Yeah. And when you killed that doe, I was like, hell yeah, man.
And we come down here to Missouri.
I asked homie one more time, I'm like, is it a good buck? And he goes, yeah, real good, solid buck. I'm like, all right, boom. And the deer just drops. Sure. Super special to me.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy. Baller Rut.
This is the Whitetail Legacy Podcast coming in your ear holes on this glorious day. It's going to be me and homie on this episode. We've had some requests to cover our pack-in hunting, how we've been successful. Homie shot a buck last year on a pack-in hunt. We were almost successful on a couple giants on public land and passed a lot of really solid good bucks out there pack-in style, and both killed does pack-in style. So we're going to go through our tips and tactics, some stuff that I think people might miss out on, and a lot of details in this episode. So go ahead and get a pen and pencil, and if you want to learn something from a couple guys that only been doing it for 3 years, we are doing the math here. We're right around 45, 50 pack-in hunts. We're probably, I like to tell people, we're probably 60-40 pack-in hunt. Brett, you'd say that's probably correct?
Yeah.
From 40% stands already hung, 60%, and it gradually gets more pack-in hunts, every year. Gradually gets a little bit, probably like 30-70 and 50-50, and last year we were 60-40. So we're getting to the people that make this possible, and then we'll get into the show. We'll start off with VIP. What you got for VIP?
Don't forget that they are offering their small game heads that are the same geometry as their broadheads. So it's good to screw them on and shoot them, at a bag or a 3D target. They come out of the 3D target's really nice. So that is an option.
I was shooting them in the backyard, and I had 3 of those, I think, and one other one. And they were getting so much more penetration than the regular one. So I was like, man, this is crazy. They were out the backside of the turkey target, you know what I mean?
The turkey target?
Yeah.
Damn.
I was like, dang, these things they're out here thugging. All right, ECW. Oh, you got the VIP shout-out. Don't want to skip that.
Yeah, this week's shout-out is James O'Keefe. And he served in the military for 8 years, and he had 2 tours overseas to Afghanistan. So, James, we appreciate you. And, going overseas and doing that for us, not only once, but twice. So definitely appreciate that, and glad you're back home safe now.
Yeah, thanks, James. We appreciate that. Big shout-out to you from VIP family and the Whitetail Legacy Podcast family. Let's get into ECW calls. They did well for us in turkey season, man. They were flawless out there. I still can't get over how good that slate purrs. You can purr with a mouth call, but that slate's just out there.
You might be able to purr with a mouth call, not me.
Yeah, really solid. But I mean, the pure purr, like I said, you have to have so much volume behind it. And with that slate, you can just you just coax that hen right in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
you can hit it real nice and soft. And we talked about it on here before, Jeff, watching him call, and like it looks like he's barely touching the damn thing.
Yeah, he's just moving about half inch, quarter inch, Right. He's getting such a long call out of it, but ECW calls all your custom call needs. Exodus trail cameras. We're going to hit you with another trail cam tip of the week. And which one should we hit this week, homie?
I thought we were going to hit the video mode.
Video mode, yeah. That's something that we started out doing 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yep.
Yeah. So a lot of guys that, or even us before that, were just running on picture mode. So we're going to talk about why we run video mode and then some tips about what you need to do if you are running video mode. So the reason we run video mode, if you put it on a scrape, you get to see the personality of the deer. If it's aggressive to other deer. If he's raking the scrape real hard. We learned that from the Last Breath guys. Can't steal that. They talk about that a lot. And then we also put them on the transition areas coming into our property. And that just shows you why that deer is there. Is he on a full run chasing does? Is he back and forth? Is he behind a doe? Or is he just going through there feeding? Because then you know that, okay, he's just going through there feeding, and if he comes back, then you know he's back in there. When you get a picture, it's really hard to tell what that buck is actually doing. Just like when Chaos came through there, he's just browsing, you know what I mean? And if you would have looked at that picture, you'd be like, oh, he's going north to chase does. But actually, he was just going up to that field to probably eat and then probably circled back through the cedars and hit the scrapes and went right back down there. So couple tips for video mode. You're going to need to run lithium batteries or something that is going to let that battery let the camera run longer because it's going to drain more battery, or put those cameras in an easier accessible place to where you can get new batteries in them. And if you run it on a scrape, most of the time it's on a field edge or something, so it's easier to get in there and put batteries in it. Another thing is your SD card size. You're going to have to bump up your SD card size because it's a lot more data, a lot more memory for a video than a picture. That's something that we started doing. We put 8 gigs in there. We're like, man, that's like half a card, you know what I mean? And especially if you're like us and you get 72 pictures of a leaf, videos of a leaf, you know what I mean? And then you're like, well, 90% of my card was gone the second day, and then I missed all this other stuff. So it's good to put a good giant SD card in there, and you ain't got to worry about it. You just know that, especially with these Exodus, they're just going to run and run and run and run. And what's the
one thing that I want to touch on about video mode is we had talked about it with Brian here 3-4 episodes ago, and it's like you're not just going to be able to go out there and check the card real quick like you can with pictures. It's going to take some time. Like we literally sat in the truck for an hour and a half one night after a hunt going through, because with the video, 10-second video, like you have to watch all of the video, And like that doe might come through and then 7 seconds in, here comes the buck.
There's a lot of times there's nothing, and then 2-3 seconds in, you're like, oh, there's the deer or there's the coon or something, you know what I mean? But I think that's what, you get a lot of blank pictures on some cameras, and I think that's what it is. It goes off a little bit early,
and then you're in your delay, and you might miss the deer.
But the video, you get them. If they're close, you get them. So that's a good tip. It does take a lot longer, so that's not one that you want to take the camera out there, the computer out there, and click through. It's something you want to take home, and
if it's a good spot, it's going to take some time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's do Ingram's Outdoor Obsession, all your taxidermy needs. Dude is stepping up the video quality hardcore again on us. Guy laid down some fire turkey footage. If you guys need a turkey mount done and you are in our local area, check out Ingram's Outdoor Obsession. He's out there nailing it. Homie has got one up there and possibly 2. We haven't released the deets on the podcast yet, but possibly 2. All right, next level. You got next level?
Yeah, you guys know it's getting to be summertime, and the antlers are popping. So
this is the time to get that max growth right now. Get those minerals out there. They are selling a boatload of product right now because people are getting fired up to get those deer. When they start getting that new growth, people start wanting to see that, and they're like, oh yeah, it's time to get some trail cam pictures and get going. But that's one thing. If you guys want to try Next Level out, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, or nextleveldeersupplements.com.
Nextleveldeer.com.
Nextleveldeer.com. Thanks for the catch, homie. Yeah. Homie's always got my back when I mess up like that. All right, let's get into the show. So we're talking pack-in hunting. Like I said, we've been doing it 3 years, and we've been successful. Homie killed a buck we called Sunshine. You can check out that video on our YouTube. It's called Practice or /Sunshine. And that was a pack-in hunt. Went into a tiny-ass cedar tree. 2 guys, freehand camera work, got it done. You're going to get to see the public land hunts. That's also going to be on our YouTube, and that's all pack-in hunts. You can see how close we are, super successful, and we're going to talk about a couple tips in this that if we would have done then, we would have been successful. So this isn't just stuff that we've known. This is stuff that we learned a few months ago when we were deer hunting. So this is fresh. Anybody that's wanting to think about pack-in hunting or already is, I think there will be some value in here. You might be able to pick up something that you're not doing that might help you. So let's get into the show. What do you want to start out with?
Let's just kind of start out with kind of the time frame we're in now, like the early off season, the stuff you can be doing now. We'll just go with, just going out there and like surveying your timber, seeing what trees you can get into. And, this could be a spot that you hunt already, and you're just trying to find that right tree. So there's the right area. What is it? The right area and the perfect tree, or the perfect tree in the right area?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. That's what we can't find.
Yeah. So we can find the right area, just can't find that perfect tree.
Yeah.
So just go out there and, obviously you're going to be able to tell if you're going to be able to get up in there, or if you're going to have to do some work to get in there to make it, accessible to get in there and pack in and hang. So that's something you can be doing right now. The trees aren't quite getting full, but, they're budding and they're sprouting now. So, but you'll be able to see all the limbs and stuff that you're going to have to take out if you need to.
Yeah, that's something that we like to do shed season, or even now, we're out turkey hunting and we see a tree, we're thinking, hey man, this might be an option, to sneak in here. And when you're looking at that tree, you always want to think about your wind direction on access and your wind direction when you're hunting. There's something that we have slowly got away from, which is weird, is because I was like super hardcore into it, is scent control. It seems like our scent control is slowly fading when we're doing these pack-in hunts because you're sweating so much. And when we're carrying all this camera gear in, you're hanging stands, you do all this work to be scent-free, and then you're like, how scent-free am I? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I used to wake up, take a shower, do all that, and I still do it some, but not near as much as I used to.
So here's the problem. I think it was October 12th. It was like the first cold front we had. We were packing in on public, and like we're getting everything out of the back of the truck, and we can't do anything because your hands are literally frozen. Mm-hmm. Like it's tough to dress and get everything ready because you're cold now because you're not doing anything, but then you're about to walk a half mile and you're going to be sweating balls by the time you get back there.
Yeah.
So
we're still really good about taking our clothes off, putting them in the Oz bags, ozoning our stuff. But I think like the pre-scent control is starting to fade a little bit because it's just when you're packing in hunting, you know that you're going to be putting in so much more effort. You're going to be sweating, and it really comes to like something that we don't really have on the notes. You have to figure out like a good layer of clothing, like what you want to wear in and what you want to put on in stand, because we do that a lot. Like
I packed in my clothes every time back there.
Yeah, it's just so
like
and
no
we always packed
that.
in extra socks.
Yep.
Like because on a cold day, when you pack in those stands and hang it, it's really hard for your feet not to sweat. And if you got sweaty feet, you're going to eventually get cold feet. Mm-hmm. So we always bring an extra pair of socks, throw them in a bag, put them in our, down in our Badlands bags. And just when you got that fresh sock on, dude, it was so nice.
That first 20 minutes is game changer, dude.
Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh! You just put that warm, fresh sock on. You're like, this is so nice.
If you're in the late season and you do that, like it takes a minute to get a new sock on because you got layers on, you got bibs, you can barely move your thigh up.
But you pull your foot out and it's steaming. And you like pull it out and you put that new one on. You're like, oh, this is so much better.
Yeah, that is something that I've thought about doing in the previous years, but I actually did this year, and it's something I'm going to be doing forever.
Even like there was times where
throw in a hand warmer if you can.
There's times where I would double the socks. You know what I mean? If I wasn't too sweaty, but every time I pulled it off, because it's hard to get your sock, like getting your boot off is one, but getting your sock off, it's freaking tough, dude, because you got a lot of layers on, you know what I mean? And we're packing hunting. I was packing hunting all the way to like the end of season in January, you know what I mean? And it's brutal out there, and you're still going out there and packing out, and that's just a tip, man. Figure out a layering process. You don't want to wear all your stuff in. You want to Like a lot of times I would put it on the seat of my stand, ratchet strap it on the sticks or something, your jacket at least, just because you don't need all that on, but you're going to want it when you get back there.
Yeah, and like most of the time, well, especially during the rut, I guess, just during the rut, we were sitting all day. So, I mean, you're going to need that eventually.
Yeah, about that. You're good for about the first 2 hours, and then it starts eating at you. And then
Like
the next hour,
8:30, 9 o'clock.
You're like, okay.
And that's when the action usually slows down.
Yeah.
So now you're starting to think about being cold. And, it can really go from a good day to a bad day or make that midday part of your hunt
Brutal.
long,
and then you want to get
extra
out.
long.
Or
all your snacks will be gone.
Or you want to get done. You want to get down and move, you know what I mean? Which is something we'll talk about later, but that's something that we don't like to do unless it's necessary, you know what I mean? So...
going back to picking the tree and cutting the shooting lanes, one thing that we did with Sunshine's hunt is we knew we could get in that tree. It would just take a little bit of work, and in the video you can see like I'm cutting my way up. So if you're not able to, cut your shooting lanes, you can do it on the way in or while you are hanging. If you're, not on public or just like we were on private there, just a little folding handsaw.
That night we had wanted to set up in that tree that I already had prepped.
Yeah.
And we were thinking, man, that might be just a little too far. I feel like these does are on the plot. And then if we would have set up down there, he would have come in front of us, and we might have been able to call him down there, but he was really interested in that doe.
Yeah, I wonder how close he was to that tree.
I think he worked that creek on the bottom.
Well, he come out on that bottom side of the field and worked that waterway up.
Yeah, so he would have been
60 yards?
Yeah, 60, 70 yards probably.
Yeah, see, so we would have had to make him come over there for whatever reason.
So we decided to set up in a tree that we weren't, and that other tree we could probably get 18 foot, and this one we could get about 10 or 12.
Yeah, 12.
But, I mean, you had to cut your way into it. It's a cedar tree we've never been into, and...
But it's just good to know that we could get in that tree.
Yeah, we knew. Like, our plan was set in that tree or go to this corner and set up in this tree because we know we can get in it.
Yeah.
And now we know it's a great spot with that wind condition.
And so you might ask us, like, why did we have to cut our way in if it was private land and we knew we could get in there? Because with the way that you get in there with all your stuff, like, it just has to be, like, kind of in the moment deal.
Yeah. Like, we planned on going down there. That was a spot that we knew could potentially be, but until you hang a stand in the tree, you really don't know what you need to cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we really didn't, like, we cut some at the bottom to get the sticks on, but the sticks were like one stick, 3 tree limbs, a stick, 3 tree limbs. You know what I mean? So if we would have went in there and cut, potentially what we thought, it probably would have been wrong.
Just like our mindset right now doing it versus the way we would do it then is just going to be different, and it might not be what we want.
Yeah, but that is something. If you could cut your way into Cedar Tree, man, you don't have to worry about that cover. He had no idea we're that low, you know what I mean? But we just had so much back cover. There's 2 guys in a tree, and the does are out there. We couldn't get that doe to leave.
No,
we throwing stuff out there trying to get
through your harness.
Yeah, I threw my carabiner. I was like,
coyote howled.
Yeah, coyote howled. Nothing. Just out there eating in the oats. I'm like,
just looking at us.
Leave. Shine the light at it. Like, get out of here. So, all right. Okay, so getting into it this time of year, we talked about access a little bit for the wind and the tree that you pick, but you also need to plan a entrance and exit route for how you're going to get through the woods. This seems simple, but when you're in the dark, and
it's totally different.
It's totally different. You kind of lose your path, especially if you have to go up and down hills. I think that's where it really messes you up.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's not a lot of trees or anything that really give you a designated, like, okay, the tree with the fork, take a right. It's hard to get to where you want to go. And then another thing is, you have a stand and sticks on your back. So we'll get into the gear later, but if you have the gear like we do, the sticks are just a touch taller than you are because we're running full-length sticks. So even, 7 foot, 8 foot, where you can walk under tree limbs, you're going to be catching stuff now. And if you can duck down, you're okay, but you're still going to be catching stuff on those sticks. Mm-hmm. And we ran it sideways, and that was even worse. Stick sideways, then you're 4 foot wide. You know what I mean? So, kind of, if you can cut a path, great. If you can't, just pick a path, and that's not you're not going to make so much noise and it's not going to wear you out. Because there's super frustrating. Like, I don't know why, but every time I walk underneath a limb, I don't know if anybody else is out there, like, if you're wearing a beanie, it just catches the beanie and just pulls it right off your head.
Every time.
So imagine that, but you have 1.5 foot sticks above your head.
Well,
you know what I mean?
when we walked in the north side of that buck bedding,
Yeah.
the 40 feet we got in there, dude, I was so pissed off.
Yeah.
Just going that far, it's catching on everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the dumbest thing I've ever done.
And there's no way you could get a stand in there. So
No,
that's something we could talk about too, is if you have a potential area that you think you want to hunt, get in there right now and say, is it feasible for me to bring a stand in here and hunt? Like, people say get on the sign, get in the action, but there's points where you just have to hunt off that sign, because if you get it, it's just physically impossible to get in there. Like, in that spot, it's a bunch of washouts, strip mine ground, nasty stuff. There might be 8 foot of flat ground. It's like down, up, 2 foot flat, down, 2 foot. I mean, it's just how it is. And when you have that ground, there's no big trees. The very trees are very limited. So you have that underbrush. I don't even know what to call it. You know what I mean? But it's those trees that actually look like bushes. You know what I mean? They grow up and they're 3 foot off the ground and they're wide, and it's just super hard to get in there. So going back to picking your tree, if you have a spot that maybe you think there might be a potential tree in there, okay, think about, how am I going to access this? I have to get in here in the dark and hang a stand, or I have to get in here and potentially not spook every deer off this area. How can I get in here quiet and then get out quiet in the evening? And you have to think, you don't want to access to where the deer are going. Like where we hunt, the deer kind of are taking a hard right turn after they get past us and going to the ag, and we're walking away from the ag. If we walk to that ag to exit, I feel like we blow them off that field, and it's just going to make them go later and later to that field, making them later to where we're at. So that's something you got to think about. You don't want to try to walk out towards the ag. And if you do, like on your stand, we kind of had to. Mm-hmm. It goes, you got to play devil's advocate where...
Well, we had the corn as back cover.
What is my wind doing? Am I going to affect more deer with my wind or with me walking through there? Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this on a couple podcasts. I don't care if you run a red light, a white light, a green light. I don't think they care. I've shined deer, big deer, small deer, and they don't move with that light. But if they smell you or something, they definitely know it's a human then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something we can get into next. We'll just go ahead and talk about lights. Homie, you talked about it on one episode, but kind of break down the importance of that.
So we use Police Security is the brand that we used, and I come across that because this handheld flashlight had a red light, and it was just a lack of options. So I bought this handheld flashlight because I'd like to use a red light. Going into my private piece, I use it just getting into the timber for, the first 30, 40 yards, and it kind of opens up, and then I'm good. But a little sketchy getting in the timber, so I use that light just to get in there. And then the white on it is super bright. It does pretty good on batteries. So I seen the headlamp of this brand and was like, well, I'll give it a try. Looked at the lumens on it. I couldn't tell you the lumens on it off the top of my head, but I was like, well, that's going to be pretty good. Different settings, brightness. You can zoom in and out, make it super wide. And then, like when we hang in the morning, we have the light on. It doesn't have a red option on it. It's just white, and that's all it is. So it's very bright. We got it scoped down as close as we can. And so we're not, shining the whole timber, but it's very important because you have to see what you're doing. Like when you get a dead limb and like the rest of the limb breaks off, then you just have like 3-4 inch dead, but it seems solid. Well, it seems solid till you get your ass on it, and then next thing you know. So some of these mobile hunting sticks hang really close to the tree, and you could potentially think that you're on the stick or a step, and you're actually on one of them small sturdy limbs at first, and it's just a way for us to be a little safer while we're hanging.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we haven't seen any less deer movement in the morning with using them. Our mornings are actually normally the best for us, it
Yeah.
seems like. And that's after you went in there and hung. But you have to think, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we're back here so early. These deer are out on the ag, and we're back in the bedding. Like, if you set up in a morning spot, I feel like our evenings would probably be better if we went closer to the ag. You know what I mean? So if you're set up in a morning spot, you get out there early, that light isn't affecting it. And to be able to find the tree that you're going to, find your access route, you don't have to have the light on the whole time if you can see. But if you're
Or
going,
you just know where you are.
you're going down a cliff like we are, sometimes it's good to have that light on to make sure you got good footing because there is rocks and stuff. We both fell down that hill, you know what I mean? And then you got 30 pounds on your back.
We fell in the daylight.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's better to have a light, and I would take that risk, just like you said, hanging stands in the dark. Hanging stands in general is, not the safest thing to do. We use the harness when we can most of the time. When we're in the tree, we use the harness all the time. But sometimes, man, you have to unhook and find another spot to hook that thing when you're hanging. And but in the dark, it's a whole nother level of danger. So a good light, a good headlight, so you have both hands available is super key. All right. We'll go back, to what you can do now. Practice hanging your stands and sticks at home. I've done this in the backyard. I know you've done it. If you have a tree, it don't matter if you can put 2 sticks on in a stand. Like, if you can get up 5 foot in that thing, like, just to practice, okay, how am I going to, okay, I got my ground step on. How high can I put the ground step off the ground to get my first foot on with your clothes on? Because that's something, you get late season, you have way less mobility to move your leg up. And that's something that we're talking about this year is running in 1/8 step just to get that bottom stick a couple more feet, you know what I mean? Because you're always... I feel like you got that thing on the ground a lot of times, you know what I mean? Because you can't step up.
Well, you always hang it too high half the time because you're on the ground. So you're like, oh, shit, I get it here.
And then
it's
you gotta
like
slide
right
it
at
down.
your, chest height to get the nice strap right around the middle, looking real good. And then you go to put your foot up there, you're like, shit.
Yeah,
and it's October.
yeah, it's too high. So that's just when, you get that first step. And then from your first stick to your second stick, what's your step? And we've got a system down where that first one, and then we're real solid. Like, we know that. But if a guy who's just starting or maybe got a different product, you switch from a mini to a full or something, switch brands even, and you're used to a double step and it's a single step, hang that stick in a tree and realize where you want them, how big you want the gaps, and then figure out how you want to hang your stand. Okay, I got my harness. I'm going to tie off here. I'm going to use this hand to hold the stand, this one to throw the strap, or I'm going to use it on this. And every tree is a little bit different. But I kind of have the same process when I hang my stands. But we've been in some trees, and I've literally got my ass absolutely kicked. And then one tree, you've been in it a couple times, you get into 8 minutes with both stands set up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So... It's just that practice of repetition. And from the first time we hung, we were dropping shit. We were being loud. To the last time, it's completely different. You have a process, and you just go through a step process. Okay, now I'm going to get this strap. I got this strap. I'm going up. I'm going to hang this stick. Okay, here's my other stick. And you just go through a rhythm that you understand. And then I want to take my last stick and my stand with me, put the stick on. I want this stick a little lower, or I want my stand a little lower on this stick so I can get in the stand easier. And you learn that stuff over time, but learning it while you're trying to hunt is very hard because you're stuck on time. Like, daylight is daylight. Like, there's no 20 minutes after.
Like, give me 5.
Give me 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I'll be set up. Like, in your yard, you got all unlimited time you want. You know what I mean? And your neighbors might be like, what is this guy doing? But, I mean, you're getting your rhythm down, and that's important. And it goes back to another safety factor. If you have a rhythm, you're going to be so much more efficient, and being efficient in the end turns into safety because you have some way of maneuvering yourself in the tree, and you've learned that instead of just going out there in the dark first time. And that's not something I've ever done, but I've never practiced in the dark. That might be something that you want to do, like wake up or go out one night and hang in the dark, like in your backyard, just to practice that. Okay, I'm going to be out here in the dark. I'm going to walk up to the tree. And then especially if you had a bunch of different trees, that'd be super nice. Then you could, okay, I'm going to hang in this one this day. I'm going to hang in this one this day. And then you get some variety. I'm going to hang in a walnut. I'm going to hang in a shagbark hickory. I'm going to, you get some variety. That's something that I don't have in my backyard. I got ash trees. That's it. All right.
Get in that apple tree, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a little small, but I could probably get like 4 foot.
Yeah. That's all you need.
All right. We're going to talk about 2 guys in a tree, but I think we should cover everything with 1 guy and then break down into 2 guys. So one thing that we want to say is pack-in hunting can be expensive. The gear is more expensive than a regular stand. So no matter what brand that you use, there's a ton of brands out there. There's Lone Wolf Custom Gear, Hawk. A lot of people are using Summits.
Yeah, I say Summit.
A lot of people are using the lightweight climbers. We don't use climbers. That's something that I've done in the past, but I've used Summit climbers. I used to use the old Field and Stream model that was like 30-plus pounds. I used to use the big game version that was 30-plus pounds. That had a nice net seat on it, though. I will tell you that. But buy the best gear that you can with what money that you have, because in the end, if it's lighter and the lighter it is, the easier it's going to be able to hang, and you're going to go hang a regular stand and then hang a lightweight stand, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is completely different than anything else. So buy the best gear that you possibly can, no matter what the brand is or what you think. And that's something that we've tried. We've tried Lone Wolf and Summit, and now I'm gonna try Hawk this year to see kind of what I think. And we still got the Lone Wolves in the back burner, and if the Hawk's shit, I'm gonna be like, okay, the Hawk's shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm going back. But it's always good to try it out, and like a lot of people are trying saddle hunting. You imagine a guy going out saddle hunting in the dark the first time to set up. Like I couldn't even imagine.
$800 to not like it.
Yeah. So it's good to buy the best gear that you can and roll with it. It's the one thing that we like to say with these stands. If you think about a hang-on stand, okay, more than likely, if you take it down, it's out there 100 days.
Yeah.
So that's 100 pack-in hunts. If you pack in and pack out every day, that's 100 pack-in hunts. Okay. For us, that would be 2 years for 1 year of stand. So say a good stand lasts you 5-6 years. You're talking 10, 15 years. That's if you take it down in 100 days. And like us, we leave them 365. We check them. That's 365 pack-in hunts. Like, that's a lot of years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That stand's going to be good for. And, of course, the straps might wear out because you're using them more, but straps are way cheaper than a brand new, cast stand. It's just so that's something to make, because for homie knows me, I'm kind of tight, and pack-in stands are like a lot. The setups are a lot, you know what I mean? But once you get it, you're like, okay, it's worth it. You can play the numbers. You're like, this is like owning, 6-7 other stands that are going to last me. All right. What else you want to cover? Why don't you cover extra ratchet straps and pull ropes?
Yeah, so something that we didn't really think about, but it just kind of come to by luck, that the way we were packing in our packs, we had to ratchet the pack to the stand on top of our stick, so we just had an extra ratchet strap. And we come to a tree, and it was the first time we'd been to that tree. We knew we could get in it. It's a nice straight tree, no limbs on it. And Cody gets the step up there and like, well, this strap ain't gonna work,
6 inches short.
Yeah, and we got it hiked in the bag. We're doing everything. I'm pulling on it. I'm halfway around the tree, and it was good to have that extra ratchet strap. Like, I was like, hey, we just got this. Take it off. I don't need it on there anymore. Threw it around, and it's way good.
Yeah.
So
you can buy the extended straps from Lone Wolf. I'm sure other brands sell them too. Mm-hmm. We just happen to have a ratchet strap with us because we're carrying camera gear, and there's no way to secure that bag on without a ratchet strap because it's just so much weight. So that's what we've been using. So it goes back to picking your tree. You pick that tree, maybe write a note down that says, man, I'm going to need 2 extra ratchet straps on the bottom because it's pretty thick, just in case I'm going to carry that extra weight, because there's nothing worse than like, oh, I made it to my tree. And you get there and you can't hang. Because we've been there. You're like, shit, what do I do now? And you're walking around the woods in the dark, like trying to make another plan to set up in a tree. And
yeah, 2 is not a bad idea, because we do have a couple trees where it is the bottom 2 with the ratchet strap. So, like, and that's just another thing we're going to get into is, like, them straps are made to go around the stick and tie back in to be nice and neat, not be hanging off or anything, and that's why they're that long. So it's not made for being in a giant tree where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Cover pull ropes. That's something that we need to make sure we have.
I was going to say, it's something, if we're going to go with 8ers, or at least 1, if we go with 1, we're going to be good. But if you get, 3 or 4 8ers or 1 on each stick that you're using, you might have a 20-foot pull rope. Most of them are 20-foot. Mm-hmm. It might be 16-foot like a couple of mine, because they're gnawed off at the end from being out there.
Yeah.
But, it's just something that you need to look at, because you might not get it up there.
Might not have.
Some people
enough.
just have it tied to the base of their stand, and as they go up, they have their pull rope up. I don't know how I kind of get mine up. I guess I put it in my mouth and just pull it up like that when I'm on the last trip up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something to look at, because, like, especially in the dark, like, I don't want to be climbing up with the bow.
No, yeah.
Or
I don't like climbing up with anything in my hands.
Yeah, I want to have 2 hands.
I don't even like climbing up with a heavy backpack. I just feel like, I'm like, man, I'm 200. These steps are rated for 300, but like 275. I mean, I'm like, shit, I mean? Like, it's just nice to be able to have both your hands, nothing constricted. And then there's nothing worse. You're climbing up, you're all quiet, and then you got, like, stuff hanging out your back, and then you catch a branch, and you're, like, stuck. You know what I mean?
Right?
When you went up the first time, you had nothing on, just the sticks. You're like, oh, yeah, I can slide right up here. You go up with a backpack and a bow. You're like, okay, back and back down.
Yep.
Then you're trying to break sticks, or, just bring a pull rope and make sure that the pull rope's long enough for what you need. You know what I mean? And then we have a system because we have 2 guys, but for one guy, your bow and your backpack or whatever, that should be like the last things that you pull up, and once you're set up, you're safe in the tree, you got your harness on, pull your stuff up, get ready to hunt. Let's see. You want us to talk about 2 guys, or scroll down on that? What else we got?
That might be the...
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
All right, let's talk about if you got 2 guys in the tree. We know a lot of people that listen to us film, and some of them are into packing hunting, some of them aren't. So, or even if just buddies that are hunting together. One thing that we like to do, and me and homie, we're just, neither of us wants to, the other guy don't want to outwork the other guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the bottom guy is always doing something. Like, he's getting the next stick ready. He's hooking up a backpack, or, I mean, he's always doing something, right? So you got one guy hanging, and the way we did it, whoever hunts hangs, and then the camera guy hangs his own stand.
Because that guy's going to put in just a little more work, but he's hunting.
Yeah. And then the camera guy had to carry in the camera equipment, so,
Yeah.
there's a little bit, a little different. But anyways, the bottom guy. There's a bunch of guys out there like, man, that is the gayest thing I ever heard on a podcast. The guy on the ground.
There you go.
We're not going to say bottom guy anymore. The guy on the ground, he always doing something, getting a stick ready. Maybe get your stand off your back. Make sure you got your straps out. What I like to kind of do is you can look at the tree and kind of pre-gauge your straps to how long you're going to need them. Just always try to be doing something on the ground because you're saving so much time. You can hand the guy the strap. You can hand him a stick when, he drops the rope down. You can hang him, maybe even like shine your light up there so he's got some light down on his feet, if he's having trouble. Just always try to be doing something on the ground because it's gonna make you that much faster, and you're helping the other guy out because he's doing the hard stuff, hanging in the dark.
And be sure you're standing back from the tree.
Yeah.
Cody already said it, but I drop an ass load of stuff out of the tree, especially early season because I'm just, trying to find the routine, find the groove.
I dropped something. Remember, I came back and dropped something too. What was it? I can't remember.
Did you drop a water bottle? Or?
I think I water bottle. It's loud as hell.
One,
yeah, loud as
I
hell.
dropped one at that first on the west side.
Like, we're not seeing anything. Sound like a shotgun going off.
Right. I was like, well, there goes that hunt.
But yeah, make sure you're staying back away from the tree a little bit. That's a good point. You want to be doing something, but you don't want a stick to fall on you or a stand to fall on you, because a guy might get in a situation where it's let go of the stand and grab a tree limb because I'm about to slide off, or let the stand go. You know what I mean? And obviously you're going to let the stand go.
And being on the ground, you necessarily don't need your light on, but like I would not have my light on because if I look up, like, to see what you're doing, like,
you're gonna blind them.
You could blind them, yeah. And, then who knows what happens. But there are times where I'm like, hey, just like you said, hey, can I see this step or something?
Yeah.
I need to see if this is a good limb or whatever.
Yeah.
See which way I'm actually facing. So just depends on what the situation calls for, if you have your light on the ground or not. But usually, everything's just right there. You can kind of just feel your way around after a couple times and find what you need.
Yeah. Another thing we like to do is, since we're running 2 stands, 1 camera guy, 1 hunter, we like to have the camera guy always higher than the hunter if we can. That way you're not trying to look through the hunter to get the shot on film.
I was watching some video. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I was watching some video from us out there on public. Dude, we got the camera straight down.
Yeah.
Doing an interview.
Yeah, oh yeah. Try to get it up there way higher, you know what I mean? And so that's something that we like to do is put that stand higher and then step in the hunter stand, step up in that stand, get your stuff ready. And most of the time what we do is, so the camera guy gets up there, he's getting the arm and stuff already, and then the hunter's pulling his bow up, putting his bow hook on, getting his backpack situated for the day, maybe putting his boot covers on. He's getting ready to hunt, making sure his release is on, arrows knocked, and then the camera guy is getting everything else ready. Because for us, the camera guy don't bring a bow, unless it's some private ground, easy access. You are shooting with the camera and that's it. So you both have work to do once you get in that tree, and the goal is, what we like to do is that 15, 20 minutes of darkness. That's when we have the best luck. If you can be set up 15, 20, 25 minutes before you can shoot, or before it's even a remotely light, you can see. It seems like we see a lot more. It's just that buffer zone of you're setting up in daylight, and then a doe you're like, oh shit, there's a doe, and you're like trying to ratchet strap the tree hard. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to get
like
out
Missouri?
there. You just got to get out there a little earlier. You know what I mean? And get it done. Oh yeah, that was 2 successful pack-in hunts.
Yeah.
On public. So heck yeah.
How did we get so late on Missouri?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I know it was. I walked outside. And I said, "Well, I got too many clothes on for all this."
Yeah. I mean, I think it's because we walked down there. Remember?
Oh yeah. Okay.
We were gonna I was like, we could drive the mule, but I was
to that creek, and
I was like, let's just walk.
Yeah. Okay.
We went up walking all the way down the hill.
Nice out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
did we walk straight down?
Yeah. No, we walked down the road and then cut over
Okay.
it. So I mean, that's a jog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it was over 3/4 mile because we're like, well, what is this compared to our public spot?
Yeah,
it was longer than that.
So I think we planned on hopping in the mule and driving down there, but we were like, shit, let's nice out. Let's just walk down there and set up. I think in our mind, we're like, okay, we're halfway set up down there. Like, we had to save us some time. No, it was seconds.
Yeah.
Seconds of being in the tree. Boom! We're always about 15 minutes too late. So it's like, we need that 15-minute buffer at the truck when we're talking shit to each other and getting stuff ready. And you need
turkey season.
Turkey season's brutal. It's just gonna wake up so fucking early. You wake up like so early.
The time at the truck is absolute killer. Turkey season,
killer, dude.
Well, it just goes back to being cold again.
Yeah,
you're dressed for a 65-degree day, but it's 35 at the truck.
It's probably 37 and raining tomorrow. It's gonna be epic.
Hands are just gone.
Yeah. All right, so when you are hanging that stand higher than the other one, whether you're buddy hunting or you're hunting, you're filming, we like to hang our stands in 2 different directions. And the reason we do this is so you can cover double the eyesight. So I've seen a lot of guys that kind of hang it front of tree, side of tree, and I try to roll it just a touch past because I feel like your side of tree, you're so much more open than if you are, even if you're a quarter past side of tree.
You want like that 7
you're
o'clock.
Like, 7 or 2, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can see that direction, and you got you can get tight to the tree and not stick out, you know what I mean? So that's what we try to do, 2 different directions, and we've had it where homie's seen bucks, and I've never seen them.
Yeah, right.
I've seen bucks, and homie's never seen them, you know what I mean? And just like when sunshine's coming in, you're like, I can't see him. I'm like, oh, I lean out, and I'm like, oh, he's right there. You know, he's 20 yards. You know what I mean? Like, and homie's like, I can't see him. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh no, he's 20 yards. So having that angle helps you out a lot, and then it's good. You have that angle. The guy's looking the other direction, and then he can say, hey, buck coming, don't move, or hey, don't stand up right now, or don't draw right now. You know, you just have so much more. Or hey, you're ready. Now, get ready. You know what I mean? You have that extra few seconds, and that few seconds in hunting is major. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What else? What I got? This is too many notes for us to read.
I
We
know,
didn't
yeah.
go in order at all.
No, never. Why would we do that?
Okay, let's cover this one right here. It kind of goes back to now, but kind of back to what we did. If you got to have more than one tree in an area that you could potentially get in. So you wake up, it's November 3rd, you're on vacation, rutcation, and it's primo. Last night you looked at 7, is north wind. You woke up, it's a south wind. You go outside, it's a south wind. Okay, now what are you going to do? You're not going to go hunting. You're ready to go pack in hunting. You got to have that south tree. You got to have that south wind tree. You got to have that second spot in your mind that you say, okay, I know. Like when we walk for shed hunting, I'm marking on my phone. Can get a tree in here, 15 foot up, 20 foot up, gonna be coming from the north. You know, I mean, I'm writing some instructions, or treeing here for south wind, or treeing here for east wind. You always had that backup tree to where you're not out there trying to find a tree in the dark, because we've been there, and that's super frustrating when you're trying to find and set up. And for some reason, it works out for us. We've had success doing that, like not finding the tree and going to a different tree and it working out. But if we would have been set up in that first tree, who knows what would have came by it? You know what I mean? But just couldn't set up in there and water. You know what I mean? So shit changes. You got to have a backup, and a backup isn't bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you get to the first
We
tree,
had that too.
it's in 6 foot of water. Like you know what I mean?
When it's bone dry,
you
like
didn't
the
bring
dirt
your
is cracked.
You didn't bring your floaties. You got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm like checking a stick. Yeah, it's deep, bro.
Because I was thinking, I was like, well, if this first one's in water, I know this next one's gonna be.
Yeah.
And it was soupy.
Yeah, it was.
But we had a backup to the backup. It was like, we'll just go up in them oaks.
Yeah.
Won't see shit, but
At least we'll hunt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The chances of you're in the area where the bucks are, and I think that's that's better than not
At the
hunting,
truck.
You know what I mean? So a backup is always good. But just to finish this podcast off, and something that we talk about, packing hunting, it's a lot of work. But I feel like it does make you more successful. You hear it on a lot of podcasts, and people hype it up as the thing to do. And now I'm not telling you if you got that prime pinch rut stand or that food plot stand that you've been successful at for years and years and years, that you just throw that thing in the ditch and start over. You know what I mean? Don't do that. But if you're a guy out there that's struggling to see deer, hunting the same tree over and over and not doing much, even on a private property, if you just hang 200 yards away, it can be huge. Because if you can get in there, a deer will figure out where a tree stand is. We've seen that. Like, we've hunted the same place like a couple times on public, and they're looking at us. We're like, what in the hell? You know what I mean? We've been in this tree 2 times, but they just, and we're taking it out every time too.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like them old does, man, they bust you one time, you're screwed. They just look up there like, shit, nothing up there, no big homie up there, I'm good. But yeah, I mean, it's just, or they're more edgy in that area. So even if you're the guy that's on private piece and not hunting public, that's thinking about getting a pack-in stand, it's always good to have one for a wind change or to set up 200 yards from that prime stand. Because I've had prime areas, and homie's seen it on my private piece, and it's good for 3 years, and then all of a sudden something changes, and you're like, what the hell? The deer are this way. You know what I mean? And you got two options. You can either have a pack-in stand in the truck, and you can go down there and make a move, or you can go back to your house, get a full set, pull a full 80-pound set in there with you, and hang it, and then try to hunt it. That's your options. And then maybe you're 50 yards off, just like when I killed Freeze. We were 50 yards off from where we needed to be. And you would have killed it in that corner. If you would have had a mobile set, you could have broke that mobile set down, had that up in the corner, and hunted there the next day, and maybe been successful.
And just like we talked about earlier, is you hunted that morning, and you're like, we need to be down at the creek. Went down to the creek, hunted, obviously bow hunting, and then, we needed to be another 50 more to kill with a bow.
Yeah.
Gun season rolls around, we're still good.
Yeah.
And just because that area, we didn't move the stand because we were trying to stay out of the area.
Mm-hmm.
And because, it was dead middle of season. But
remember, I said I was going to take a mobile set in there and hang if we had a south wind. And that's what you needed to do to be in that area. You had to hang pretty much on the property line or close to it to blow yourself out in that field and make it work. You know what I mean? But that would have been hard early in the morning. I don't know. Hopefully they'd have been north of there. But just wanted to say it is work, but I do believe that it is worth it. Take your time. Take baby steps, learn at home, learn how you're going to pack in, learn how you're going to hang, and then when you go out there, I enjoy it. I like it. And when I go to another stand, I'm like, man, I didn't do any work.
When I go to a pre-hung stand, and I haven't shot a deer going to just a pre-hung stand after. Well, I did shoot that deer. It just was like I didn't really earn that, but I did because I hung the stand, but. It just wasn't all that in one day at the time at the hunt. And so pack it in, just like Cody said, it is work, but man, dude, when you do get it done, it is a little bit more rewarding.
Yeah, it's super cool. You beat that deer on every sense of the word. You decided to pick that tree that day. You were there. You cut his path off. It's just
that element of surprise that a lot of people talk about. Just like Justin Fiskajon, he only mobile hunts. He said he never sits the same tree twice.
Yeah,
super successful hunter.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that element of always changing. You're talking about them older does. Once they pin you, you're done. So it gives you that other option.
Yep, for sure.
It could give you that edge to be take your hunting to the next level.
It could give you the edge to maybe be successful this year. You've been getting close and struggling. Throw a curveball at them, you know what I mean? And they're like, holy shit, this dude's over here.
Right.
It smells like freaking Fruit Loops over here now. It used to smell like Fruit Loops 60 yards away.
It smells like dirt.
Yeah. Oh, but we hope you guys enjoyed this pack-in tips and tactic episode. We're going to try to spit some more knowledge of what we got. We've been getting some requests to hit some stuff like this, and you guys, if you listen to us very long, you know that we try to be very humble on our skills of whitetail hunters because we are young. We both have multiple bucks on the wall, bow kills, gun kills from 190 to 110 inches. You know what I mean? We've killed a lot of deer, but we don't feel like we're at the point where we can literally break down tactics and really tell people this is how we do it. This is how to get it done. And that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to say this is what we do, might be successful for you. So we're going to bring you guys some more of these episodes because you guys want them. So here they are. Take it or leave it, whether you learn anything from it or not. We hope you guys did. Leave a legacy, and Whitetail Legacy is out.